Hello and welcome to the skating lesson, Olympic Ladies Recap Edition. I'm Dave Leese, and once again, I am joined by Jonathan Beyer. And you all need to know that Jonathan has been very patient this week because my internet has been MIA thanks to the cable companies of North Jersey. Things have been working and then not working, and repair people come and then they say that they're working and then they're not, and then the street is out. So it has been a journey, but I think it's just given us more time to reflect on the
Mhm.
Olympic Games. What are you thinking about all of this, Jonathan?
I'm glad we had a little bit of time so I could just chill out a little bit.
Really?
Otherwise,
You weren't
I
one of
was in a
those
bit of a
emails
tizzy.
clogging the inbox? I think
Yeah.
there have been a couple of them. Yeah. Really,
Yeah,
you
I'm a
all
little
had
less
similar
angry now.
thoughts. You all, yes, everyone has very
Yeah.
unique opinions that are all similar. But about one thing that happened, and it aired on TV last weekend, and I think we just need to talk about it because it's been on the hearts and minds of everyone, and that's the Tonya and Nancy documentary. Jonathan, who is Nancy's media coach? Who has she been? What kind of award can we give her? Nancy Kerrigan has never been so likable, so relatable, approach.
Her
What was
hair
going
looked great.
She was
Yeah,
looking
she
fantastic. She was doing that
yeah.
workout class with her mom. I kind of wanted to
That's
join
right.
in with those women. Uh,
That's right. That's right.
and there were so many wonderful moments, having seen both of the documentaries. I did prefer the ESPN one, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't watch them both back to back before bed. Like, I
You
think,
did prefer the ESPN one. The thing I liked about the NBC one that's different than a lot of the other ones we've seen is that they talked more about the actual skating.
yes.
They
Which was
took us
interesting.
to
They
they
they went there.
they talked
Nancy
about
went there about
1993 and
they went there about Nancy's performance ability, about how she was a little cold and stiff. I mean, they
right.
went
Yeah.
there, and I thought that that was really
Yeah.
interesting, and they gave more of a picture. The one thing I liked is you really do feel for Tanya in the ESPN one, and you really, I think, get a sense of her. And I like that friend that did the student film that went to Yale and was the film major that they have interviewed, and
Right.
they showed that on 2020 in the past. And at the end, it's the killer for me in the ESPN one when she goes, I've avoided this question for 20 years because I really hope that she wasn't involved. Of course she was involved. I mean, that was like the moment of the. And I loved Dodie Teachman also deserves like a check plus in both documentaries because she's so real
Yeah.
about it. And how
Yeah.
much does Tanya regret firing her? And just all of it was interesting. And, her saying, well, I knew that Tanya could take Jeff. So I was captivated by it. It was television. Yes, I don't know. I loved it. I loved both of
Yeah.
them. It was great, and I
The NBC one
also
was a little more in depth because
yes,
it was nice to hear from Christine. It
hmm
was nice to hear from Phil. And again, most of those people just skipped 1993. They were
yes,
just like, Tanya landed a triple axel, Nancy won a bronze.
hmm
Now cut to Lillehammer. You know what I mean? It was a lot more interesting to hear a bit more about what was happening
and I
during
do
the years in
enjoy
between.
how like this is the moment for Christine and Phil. Like they will to any interview about Tanya and Nancy, they will go there. That was their shining moment. That was how Christine
They
got
should.
into skating. She made her career off of this in skating, and
That
she runs
book.
with
Yeah, of
it. And
course.
she's so entertaining talking about it. Christine Brennan's face talking about Tanya Harding is like a gift from God. I don't even know how to describe it, but she gets giddy when
Yeah.
she talks about both of them.
Well, because
And she used
she
to be
can
more
remember
pro
the
Nancy.
excitement. Yeah.
She used to be more pro
Okay.
Nancy, and I feel that she's kind of understood Tanya more over the course of 20 years.
Okay.
What I think is really funny about Phil Hirsch is that he has less compassion for Tanya than Nancy Kerrigan does, and she's the one who got whacked.
Well,
That
the
was
thing that's
classic
interesting,
Phil Hirsch. It was wonderful. I loved it.
but I like that he had a feeling of betrayal
Yeah.
because he was like, she robbed us of that talent. So what a waste of talent, and that, of
Yes.
course, is the saddest part of the story
That
for me.
is.
But obviously, the most traumatic part of the entire documentary was what, Dave? It was Tanya Harding singing karaoke in those first 30 seconds. I was like,
You thought it was
oh,
tragic?
honey. I,
I thought it was a gift from
I
above. Okay, like I.
it was I couldn't even find it like funny. Like it was just like, please stop. This is just
I
terrible.
really
And
enjoyed
it's
the two documentaries, maybe as much or more than the entire Olympics. And
okay.
there was just something so great about it. And I also think, and
Yeah.
we can get into this when we talk about the judging, is that it brought me back to a time in skating that was simpler and when there were
Right.
vibrant personalities and the skating allowed the personalities to shine through. And I
Right.
found watching it that they weren't hindered by all of the requirements and all of the footwork and the spins that take them out of the engagement in the music. And just watching the old clips, I was there. I felt like all of those personalities were so rich. And then you
Right.
realize, wait, all of these girls probably do have those personalities. They just have to hide them a bit more. So I thought it was
Of course, yeah.
interesting. But there
But it's
was
interesting
another
because
thing that has happened in the last week, and that was the ladies' event at the Olympics, Jonathan. So just walk us in, break it down. How are you feeling? Have you recovered?
it was okay. I think this is karma because after the men's event, I said I was so distraught that I had to take a nap.
Okay.
Well, after the ladies' event, I wanted to like sleep for days. I just couldn't face the world, and it was just it was a shock more than anything. I was like, surely this is not happening. And for us real diehard fans that were watching it live in the morning, we all watched it again at night, and I think we're all secretly hoping for a different result in the evening, even though we knew exactly what was going to happen. But sadly, that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's funny. I felt all year we've been talking about the inflation of the marks, and we've been tracking Yulia's marks, and we were tracking Adelina's marks. And when I said that Ashley shouldn't go to the Grand Prix final, I was dead serious because
Yeah,
not so much about her skating, but how she was going to be judged no matter what. And a lot of people didn't understand that, and they were like, "This is how she makes
right.
money. How dare you? She won a bronze." And
Mhm.
thinking, had Adelina not imploded in the long program, Ashley would have been fourth there, and it would have been close. And it would have been her
Right,
Olympic chances would have been done already
right,
back then, and they really kind of were by that bronze medal anyway. If you look who wasn't there, Carolina, Una, even Gracie,
right.
and you think you put it, but those marks that have been going. And they've been rising and rising. And the team event, you just knew what was about to be upon us.
Well, I think for us also a big indicator was Europeans, which
Yeah,
ended up being much more foreshadowing than we realized, I
yeah,
think, because Sonia Bianchetti was very alarmed
yeah,
by the women's judging at Europeans, and it kind of set up
yeah,
even more inflation for the Olympics because, like, when people were talking about Adelina's PCS being
hmm
so high,
hmm
it was ridiculously higher than it had been on the Grand Prix, but
hmm
because they had already given it a huge bump at Europeans, it didn't seem like it
This
came
has
out
been a
of
campaign
nowhere.
that's been going on all year. And I think that
Yeah.
people just want to
Yeah.
look at the Olympics and then how you can justify it. You look back at Europeans, compare the results, compare the marks that have
Right.
been slowly rising, but really not slowly. They don't rise at that
Yeah,
rate for
exactly.
anyone else. So that's been really interesting to watch. There's been a lot of political maneuvering all season. Russia really got their political game in order. And I think that you have to hand it to them. Their ladies were also prepared and did deliver
Right.
strong performances this season to allow that to happen. So
Right.
they're not bad skaters, first of all. And I think that that gets lost in any of these people like, you hate Adelina. I more am taken by the judging of the event. I think overall, my,
Oh yeah, actually, because
yeah.
Adelina it was exciting. Had she
hmm
not wrecked what we thought our results should have been,
hmm
I think everyone would have been really like, good for her.
Yeah.
That was really impressive. But it's
Yes.
just now she becomes the target, you know what I mean? But it's too bad because she did deliver some cool performances for her,
Yes.
in a Paulina Edmonds sort of way.
Yeah.
That you were like, oh wow, look at you, good for you. That's a big improvement,
Yeah.
But whoa, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting because Sonia was so alarmed that Yulia and Adelina were within a couple points of Kostner in terms of components at the Europeans, and Carolina didn't even win the components at the Olympics. And Sonia really said it, and she said the same thing that I've felt that on each of the components, um, especially performance execution, choreography, and interpretation, Adelina should be about a point and a half, a point at least, probably a point and a half lower than Carolina, and probably about a point lower than Una Kim on every single one across the board.
It's
Both
true.
programs. They were
Yeah.
also really smart at these Olympics, is that everyone you get the Johnny Weirs of the world on TV and they just look at the long program. Well,
Right.
they add together now. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
Even Tarasova on Russian TV said that Costner should have won the short. Now, she probably said that because she also said that Unikim should have been third, and they were trying
Right.
to
Okay.
attack her
Yeah.
from the start there. But I did find it interesting that even Tarasova said that Costner should have been in first after the short. So you kind of take
Well,
everything with a
even in
grain of salt.
the short, I mean, I don't understand a world where a triple toe is outscoring
Mhm.
a triple toe with a beautiful program. I
Yes.
mean, Carolina's short program was one of those.
Mhm.
We will go back and YouTube this Olympics to watch her short program. You know what I mean? I think it was a really iconic performance. Una was fine. She delivered what she needed to in her Nancy Kerrigan 1992 short program dress or whatever chartreuse nonsense that was. But Carolina really had the moment in that short. So it was the fact that they were so close, and that's also something with this kind of judging system is now it's not about place.
Mm-mm.
It really is alarming how they were basically in a three-way tie, and I don't understand
Mhm.
how Carolina and Adelina, how a triple toe was in the same category.
And it's just
I
the
just don't get
quality.
it.
I mean, Carolina's landings in the short were absolutely beautiful, and she performed really well. And Una was excellent in the short program. Perhaps a little bit muted artistically in the short, in
Okay.
terms of a genuine, real, honest, organic connection to music. But I thought that she did a very good job. I go back to, Adelina is a great skater. Her skating has not matured. A lot of it is on she does skate on 2 feet quite a bit, like a lot of some of the choreography where she uses like the forward swivel with both
Well,
legs, and it's just
it reminds me of Arena in times where she flounces, she pumps, she can't quite stroke properly, but she has this incredible spring in her jumps. But her component scores should be around where Paulina's are.
yeah. And it's so funny is that I find that people always like the kind of skaters that they are. I mean, we know that Johnny going in is going to like whatever Russian, whatever
Right.
Tarasova likes. But, Tara Lipinski always likes whatever girl is just like her. Like, she loved Tuktamisheva when she was delivering. That was Tara. She saw
Yeah.
herself in her.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was liking Lipnitskaya, and then she failed her, and she went on the Sotnikova train so fast. And it's funny, I've had conversations in the past with Tara about how Sotnikova's air position is kind of open in the air, and that's one thing that still exists. Looking forward to the future, but it's just funny. Tara was very supportive of Sotnikova, and she completely agreed with the win. And I wasn't shocked at all by that because I thought it's exactly the same logic for why Tara won her gold medal. Like
Yes,
this
but
almost legitimizes it
see,
because it's like saying that energy and landed
wins.
jumps win, and that equals presentation. And I was talking to judges about this who feel that in the old system, energy could have added a tenth onto your score, but it
Right.
shouldn't make the difference for a point and a half in PCS in terms
Right.
of what it
Well,
should.
it's a couple of things. First of all, she was clearly defending herself, not Adelina, when she was giving all of this commentary. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, she beat Michelle, and we really wanted Michelle to win. The difference for me here is I wasn't rooting for one girl in particular. I know that you're a diehard Carolina, and I like Carolina
But
very
half
much.
of
But
my diehard Carolina is for comedic effect. So I think that you
okay,
have to kind of put that into, uh, you know.
yeah, because it wasn't that she stole it from someone,
Mhm.
where that's what happened in 1998. But the thing is, remember, Tara still had a program from Sandra Bezic. You know
Yes.
what I mean? It was still a program of quality. She was a world champion the year before. I mean, Adelina was what, ninth
Yeah.
last year or
And she
something
had
in
that
worlds?
horrible burlesque program last year.
Yes. Well, like there's any other kind. But I don't. It's to me, it's Tara selling herself short by saying she's the Adelina in this situation. I just don't find that to be the case. So
Um, I think it's interesting. I think if you go back and how you would have judged Nagano and what scores you would have awarded, it
yeah,
a lot of it is similar, but I think that Tara's win was more convincing than
absolutely. Yeah,
Adelina's by
yeah.
far. in terms of if you are going to credit that, and even if you think Tara deserved to win or not, I think her performance was far superior to Adelina's. Certainly artistically, there was just no substance there. There was no point to the program, and the quality. I mean, she had great jumps and she spins fast, but the positions aren't there. And
Right.
but she's a great, she would have been a great silver or bronze medalist. I don't think anyone is that. And I don't really feel outraged for one particular skater. I know that people
Yeah,
either feel outraged
it
for
would be more. I
Carolina or
think.
they feel outraged
Yeah.
for Yuna. I kind of just feel outraged about the judging as a whole, the whole year, how things have gone. I feel very about the whole
Well,
thing.
because regardless of the evening, and we know it's who owns that evening, and it's not like we said in the men, it's not a lifetime achievement award. Yet in our heart, it's kind of what we want that gold medalist to represent. They are the pinnacle of the sport at this time, and they're our representative. Patrick Cham would have been a great one, but Hanyu is a fine one, But for Adelina to be the face of female figure skating. This is the best we have to offer. She is the princess. This is the best we've had over the past 4 years, and she is. It just kind of is not the representative. I think we could have found in a Yuna, in a Mao, in a Carolina. You know what I mean? It was just, and I wonder in the short program because Yulia had clearly set up this potential victory for herself. And then when she faltered, it was like the judges scrambled really quick, flipped through the papers to be like, okay, there's another Russian girl. We're okay. And then they just transferred all of their help to her. And so I thought, what if Adelina had skated first in the short program
Mm-hmm.
and they gave her some bumps and then they were really holding out to give the boost to Yulia and then she had messed up afterwards. I wonder if the scores would have been different. I don't know.
Well, in previewing the event with Svengali Emily Tuttle, I told her that the judges were going to keep both Russians in the top five and in the mix no matter what and have them both in for the podium after Europeans. I felt that they were
Yeah.
going for both girls and that they didn't know which one was going to medal, but they were going to go for the win no matter what. And
Yeah.
it's funny, the Korean media had this. They had these clips. I don't know if I think it was a compilation on YouTube. It was posted about all the different reporters talking about how great Una was, and she is. But I thought, oh my goodness, they do not see this coming. Like there's a really good chance she is going to lose here, and it has not that much to do with the skating and everything to do with the
Yeah.
judging and now perception and how things are going after the team event. I remember at the team event, I'm like, Una's really in huge trouble, like
Yeah.
huge, alarming trouble.
But Yuna didn't give us a reason to be as outraged as we could have been either.
I thought that her
I'm sorry
skating
to
had
say that. Yeah.
maturity, had quality. It didn't necessarily have energy. And I think that
Yeah.
that was the biggest. But I think that her overall skating quality is what we want in a ladies champion. Mao has it.
Which we view as a representative. Yeah.
Yes.
And again, they were beating Mao's PCS scores too, and
Absurd.
I didn't. Yeah.
Absurd. To
Yeah.
me, Mao Asada gave the performance of the night at the Olympics.
Are you kidding? That long program for me was like the program of this whole Olympics because
Yeah.
I was like, this is actually a story of perseverance and getting up. And it was when I watched it again, I got emotional like a big silly baby. You know what I mean? Because I was like, this is so amazing. And then to see that release on Mouse, I was like, that's what this is about.
That was, to me,
That's
was the
awesome.
moment of the
Yeah.
Olympics, especially
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the fall in the short program. I thought it was a perfect, perhaps, cap to her career. It was wonderful. It was what we want in an Olympic champion. That was that performance to me. That is what we want.
Absolutely.
That is everything that you could have wanted in a champion. And I feel for Yuna. I worry about the kind of precedent sense that we have two returning Olympic champions, and they both performed in the short and the long programs that were worthy of gold medals, but they didn't get gold medals. In neither case, Virtue and Moyer or Unikim. And you could say it's competition, but I also wonder, are we dissuading people from defending their Olympic titles when you see that they're going to perform probably the best they can and they're going to get on someone else's bandwagon in that sense, and it's much harder 4 years later. And I just wonder, are we dissuading people from continuing? I mean, are you going to go another 4 years to be that close.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but see, the difference between Virtue and Moyer and Yuna is they put in the 4 years in between.
yes. Yuna
Yuna kind
competed
of,
6 times, I believe.
yeah. So it's a different thing. If she had come back at Worlds and hit the ground running and continued to appear
Seven
and be in
times.
our face,
Mhm.
I think it would have. I don't know if it could have helped, but she would have been more. She could have worked out her program. She could have made it more difficult. She could have tweaked and seen, how judges were treating her as she went along. But yeah, man, I didn't know. And I just now we can segue into
Mhm.
how disrespectful I thought the audience was in that
Mhm.
arena after Adelina skated. The silence that they gave Gracie and Ashley and Yuna was deafening silence.
Yeah.
And then for Yuna, while she was waiting for her scores, for them to be chanting Russia over Yuna's bows and scores, I thought was just really poor sportsmanship. And I know plenty of Russian people and Russian fans, and they were like, "That's not a Russian
No.
skating audience. That's has nothing." You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the
So
Olympics. That's people being really excited. I mean, in
yeah,
China, when the gymnastics was there, they were yelling all sorts of things. And most of it was just pro China. When other people were competing, there was once a gymnastics event in China in 1999 when they were cheering for people to fall. So, I mean, that's people get very excited and it brings out a different energy in them. And I don't think it's reflective of the country. It's funny. I heard that Frank was telling his assistant that everything about the Olympics was just wonderful, Anne, except for the crowd.
yeah. Well, and when he went on a news blurb or something with Michelle, and they were talking about Gracie and the upcoming ladies event, and he said, they had prepared for the audience to be like this, but they didn't realize how much like that they were going to be, and that it threw them. And it made me a little sad with Johnny and Tara because they almost blamed Gracie for not getting the audience going enough. Yeah. And I was like, "Are you kidding?" A fireworks display couldn't have got them going after Adelina. So
I thought that Gracie did a great job at the Olympics. The one thing I was impressed in all those videos is that Frank had her so trained and she was disciplined. And
yes.
with her old coach, I know that it had gotten contentious, but Gracie's always been tough, but she's been a shaky competitor, up and down. She went from nationals last year to bombing kind of at Four Continents, or at least very shaky performance, to then doing better at Worlds, but still a nervous performance that she got through. It wasn't as nailed as nationals was. And she seemed like, is she someone who needs that mistake in the short program to nail the long program? You don't know. But I thought here that she really fought through nationals. She has fought through the Olympics in 3 phases. She was doing, great programs every single day. And I think that she is, learning how to compete. I think she's learned how to train. I think the next thing is she's learning how to compete, and pretty soon she's going to learn how to win. And I think they're going to package her to be better.
Because the thing is, we keep forgetting. Well, no, we don't. But I mean, it's also important to keep in mind that the long program is still not like a Frank and Gracie and a Lori, I'm assuming, kind of thing. It's still remnants of before. So if they've come this far this quickly and this convincingly, I mean, and let's see what happens at Worlds. I mean, she's in it to really go places, and she's proving that she can.
It'll be interesting to see how if the marks for the Russians hold up at Worlds to what they've been getting.
Have they announced? I think if Adelina was smart, if she continues to skate, she should not go to Worlds. Mm-hmm. I think she should show up next season if she wants to continue.
She should learn how to skate with props first. But I think that
that was so tragic because especially after all this hoopla, all these stories, everyone's watching the exhibition, and we're all like, all right, Adelina, let's see. She comes out with the color guard thing. She's tripping on them. I know it's difficult. I know it's props. I know she's in spotlights. But she messed up both double axles. She got tangled in the thing. Her choreography involved rolling around on the ice. And I was like, that's it. That's the gold medalist. That's our representative. Yeah.
It's always a real punch in the gut when you watch the gala. First of all, the galas are horrible for the last probably 10 years. But you you watch the exhibitions and you always see the skater who maybe should have won or you wish won, and they go out there and they do a performance of quality, like some exhibition they spent time on, and then you see the winner. You go back to Nagano, Michelle's doing Les Miserables, and then we saw Anastasia.
Just
And
yeah.
then you go back to, Salt Lake City, or you go back to the other night with that performance with the props, and you
Yeah.
just think, oh,
Too bad.
that's too bad. Ugh.
Yeah, that was rough.
But I think going forward with Gracie, I think she has a really bright couple of months. I think going to Worlds, she has a great shot at really solidifying herself. I don't see her being a Mirai. She seems to be much more
Oh,
disciplined
yeah.
than Mirai, and perhaps a little bit hungrier, deep
She had,
down.
yeah, you can tell she has that competitive edge. And when they interviewed her, after the short program, she's like, I'm just a triple Lutz away
Yeah.
from Yuna. The fact that she was in that kind of mindset tells me, okay, she's definitely got a goal in mind and
Well,
she is going to achieve it.
Well, Gracie was apparently really upset after her Olympic free skate. And someone said, "Oh, that's
Because of the
awful."
flip.
She did, yeah. And someone said, "Oh, that's
Okay.
awful." I think in the crowd, that she, feels like she didn't do well. And I'm thinking that is bad for the short term, but that's fantastic because if she's thinking that, one
You
mistake
can
on a
never be
flip,
satisfied. Yeah, a
if
champion always needs to
I'm like,
keep
this
better.
is
Yeah.
really good. This is a
Yeah.
good thing that she is temporarily upset. She will go home. She will be trained. She will
Yeah.
get back into the rink and then do well at Worlds, tour, hopefully get more of a relationship with the audience. Hopefully then Lori can think of music. Maybe they can have a woman's bonding moment, drink tea, do some yoga on the beach where she's not yelling at Apollo Anton Ono, talk about boys, and then open up together on the ice like Sandra
That's
would, with
right.
them, and they can just.
As people, this is, sorry, a non sequitur, but as people talk about the commentators, Sandra, and all this sort of thing, the one reason I hope somehow Sandra gets the boot is because she can choreograph again. And I thought the biggest disappointment for me is we never saw a Carolina Sandra program,
Mhm.
because I would have been very
Well,
intrigued by that.
actually, I heard that you won a Lori Sandra winning ticket. I think that you were talking about, and I'm like, what, like Barack and Hillary running together, like the money ticket? What is that?
A tag team,
The
and it
tag
would be
team.
really exciting. Yeah,
Yes.
I would just really, I mean, listen, Sandra's, and I'm just like you. Every time someone complains about Sandra, we're like, nope, she can say whatever she wants because she's earned it because of her, her body of work.
Well,
But it would be really nice for me to see what she could do in this IJS system, especially with some of these girls coming up. But anyway, that has.
it's funny talking with Scott and Sandra, both having them both been on the show, and they both said about, we asked about Patrick Chan, what would they do in that situation? Oh, we would say exactly what we think. And yet, every time there's ever a controversial result, NBC is the quickest to justify it after
Yep.
what happened in Salt Lake. They don't want to
After
be blamed.
2002, that's
They don't want to
right.
be
That's
blamed
right.
for the sport going downhill, losing viewers. Maybe they're afraid that it'll be out of the Olympics, or that it will be,
Right.
damaged, or viewers will be turned away. And this is like, when Evan beat Johnny, they were Evan. Anytime that
That's right.
there is a result that people are, when Ashley beat Gracie last year at Nationals, Ashley deserved it. And every single time they are just on the money pecking with whoever wins, they are going to
It's
salute
true.
you. And it
It's
seems like
yeah.
they're maybe
Yeah.
not even allowed to do their jobs anymore because there's just so much else.
Well, and again, I mean, obviously Scott knows skating, Sandra knows skating, but all of a sudden they've been reduced to fluff content. I mean,
And
instead
Sandra
of talking,
always takes a back seat to Scott too. Like, he is the star of that broadcast.
yeah.
And she adds the dressed like a princess. And you think
Or
Sandra
what is
probably,
she?
her credentials are probably as good as his, if not, I mean, you go
More
into,
so because she's
yeah,
constructed all of these
yeah.
kinds of programs too. That I mean, and it was interesting being able to watch the British feed as well, where I felt smarter
Mhm.
as I watched the British feed, especially in dance, which is my least knowledgeable, discipline. They were giving you insight versus all the fluff nonsense that we were getting elsewhere. And yeah, it was. I don't know. I
But
don't
if you
think the
ever listen
audience
to an
is as dumb as
interview,
they think.
if you ever listen to an interview with Sandra, she's extremely intelligent. Or if you
Oh,
read
it's
what she
so
writes,
clear. Yeah.
agree with her or not, she's extremely intelligent and has a point of view and an opinion. And I think that there's a buffer with how NBC chooses to present it. But going into how skating is presented, one of the people that has continued to stir a little controversy is Miss Ashley Wagner. People have not really loved her remarks after the long program, what she felt at the Olympics. And I wanted to know what your take on Ashley's remarks were. She has said that we need to get rid of anonymous judging, that skating needs to have fans, and that the uh, the skater that people think deserves to win needs to win. The results need to match what people said. And
I don't
people
think
have been
that's, yeah, okay.
very upset by this. And I want to know, what is your take on it?
I think when Ashley came out, and listen, we have a lot of opinions about Ashley,
Mhm.
right? You know, we love her. We wonder about certain programs, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, she has been remarkable for the skating program. She
Yes.
has been a role model. She has had a nice voice. You know, I like her, you
Mhm.
know, and I think that isn't it going to be the USFS that's putting forth the proposal to use anonymous judging,
To get rid of it.
or to get rid of anonymous judging rather. So I think that for all we know, the USFS is encouraging her,
Mhm.
and I think she's a good girl for the federation, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm sure there's no coincidence,
Yeah.
you know, that she's doing that at the same time the United States is going to put forward this proposal. I do think that the judging was wrong.
Mhm.
I don't think the judging was wrong for her.
Not necessarily. I could have seen
Yeah,
them maybe being a place higher,
yeah,
not based on how the results have been going this year. But I
right,
think that if you take this result 6 months from now, don't think about it, judge it as you see it.
right,
At most, maybe would be a place higher. I think,
yeah.
if that. But
And the
maybe.
difference between seventh and sixth to me, it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
No.
So
I don't I think probably she's upset that she was behind Yulia, maybe because Yulia fell in the short.
right.
You don't know.
The revisionist history on her front was that she kept saying she skated clean.
But
But
I
she
mean,
didn't skate clean. Yeah, okay, so maybe she didn't fall,
mhm,
but she didn't skate clean, you
no.
know. So it also wasn't. I have to say, you know, I harp on her for that short program because it's
Mhm,
not my favorite. But the long program, I did have to say, I had my cheesy musician moment and was like, this is the power of music.
mhm,
This girl responds to this
yeah.
music. You can't deny it. And
It's her.
she did not respond to the Romeo and Juliet. And so it was kind of cool to see her after kind of a season of being very, you know, casual about
Mhm,
the long program, to see a fire. I'm sure
mhm.
it was because she wanted to skate well. And she sold that thing, and she had a kind of energy to her that I haven't seen in a long time. And it was exciting.
She always has, though. That's why I was supportive of her doing Samson over Black Swan. I felt
Black Swan.
like
Okay.
Black Swan is always Ashley trying to be a ballerina, and though it had some cool movements, I thought it was just awkward. At many points, I always felt that Samson, she's a gritty girl, and it let her
Resonated.
just kind of
Yeah.
unleash it and bring it out, and just it's a program that works.
Yeah.
For her, and I think that that's one of the reasons maybe she should have stuck with Philip Mills, is that maybe he got her, but
Yeah, because even the Samson of last season had a little bit more refinement
mhm,
to it than this version did. Although she brought fire, she brought energy that we're talking about, that Adelina, that propelled Adelina. Ashley kind of had that kind of
yeah,
energy and fire to her. I was sad during Mon Coeur, the slow, beautiful part. She did a nice moment during one crescendo, and then during the climax of the aria, she was just kind of, you know, stroking around or something. And I was like, oh, you missed that moment, and it could have been really exciting.
and
But I think it was it was such a smart move
did you
for
see the
her.
parts that she took from Romeo and Juliet and just put in Samson, like the held back edge with the
Yeah,
arm?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I was like, you know, I'm sure there's a timing
Yes.
situation, and you know, with the points and blah blah blah. But yeah, I'll be intrigued if it goes through any changes before Worlds.
Yeah. Hopefully
And
they
this
can
whole,
revisit her flip technique. It's just looking it's
I don't know.
bizarro world.
It
Uh,
seemed when I saw it at Skate America, I was
mhm,
so confident in her. And I
Mhm.
was so confident in it. She's not like checking the foot out. She's not sticking it out enough or something before the on her
She does
landing
do the
or
real
something.
diagonal. I mean, the toe has been under rotated for most of the year. So the
Yeah.
fact that she was getting called at some points, but it's not been that different. It's gotten worse as it's gotten in her head since missing the flip at nationals. It has gone downhill, but it's been an iffy combination when she goes around the corner for that toe every single
Yeah.
time. But
So what's the solution for you? Putting it in a different
it could be. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the one paying the money to do it, but I think if she does, she maybe from a straight line or from just
Yeah.
readjusting how they're going to do it. She's also may not be the most natural triple girl, and I think that is something that people need to face too. She needs to be very kind of relaxed when she goes into it. It seems like, and under pressure, she tends to botch it a bit.
Okay.
I think that's her, and the psychology of Ashley Wagner under pressure and competition is much more a factor in her jumping than her actual technique is from a lot of the times. Because the one thing I noticed about Ashley is obviously people sort of attacking her for her remarks and being like, how dare she? She thinks she should be better. We even put her on the Olympic team over Mariah. She didn't even deserve to be here. And you
She proved
think,
that she did. She did absolutely prove that she
mhm.
should be here. I mean,
The
yeah.
one thing is that when Ashley's under pressure, a lot of those jumps, even her better jumps, the sow, the loop or the second flip, she can often 2 foot a lot of the landings, and they're not as plus two, plus one as you would want them to be. And she really
Yeah.
kind of leaves points on the table in terms of quality. So
Okay.
when you go back and you look at, well, she's not really getting pluses on the spins, and she's definitely not getting it for the footwork, and she's
So where
not,
is she going to
where
get
is
it?
she going to
Yeah,
get the pluses
exactly.
from?
The thing about Ashley also is she reminds me a little of our friend Jill Trenery,
Yes.
and I think that we view her so differently because she's just by circumstance been thrust into our number one American position.
Yes.
I think if Gracie had been around this whole time and kind of maintained that top American spot, and Ashley was our solid number two, we wouldn't be so disappointed sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I think she's solid and she does things the best she can. It's just not, a life-changing talent.
I think
It's
it's really interesting. Whitney had a really insightful tweet when she was tweeting during the program on for TSL, and she was saying that what she said, "Welcome to the Rachel Flat treatment," and Rachel favorited it. Now that she finished in seventh place, I think it's interesting because one of the reasons people had a backlash against Rachel was that she was thrust upon us, and
right.
when you finish in seventh, we don't like that very much.
Yeah, and especially for the casual fan that tunes in and doesn't understand why we didn't have a woman win. It's because really it's not Gracie's time to win.
Yeah.
Technically, our number one person should have been Ash, you know what I mean? And we didn't quite get those results. But yeah, I think and who knows, if they had never split those Olympics back in 92 and 94, if we were still on the other cycle, it would be so fast. I mean, Adelina, was she even allowed to skate, in 2012? Could you imagine if the Olympics were in 2012 instead of now? The results, everyone is peaking at different times. So I think often it's just Ashley would have been much more a part of that equation then.
Maybe, maybe not, because Una probably would have skated that year. And I think
Yeah,
that
okay, actually, that's true. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Ashley is relatable, and one of the reasons I think she's relatable is that she's not that talented. She makes the most out of what she has, but she's not an otherworldly talent like Mao or Yuna. She's someone who makes the most. And the one thing that we like about her is that she does speak her mind and she gives us a personality. It's so funny to me that people are so concerned about the future of skating and wanting skating to be popular, or is complaining about the judging damaging to skating? Should we just pretend like everything is fine and just be happy? And I think, yeah, then Ashley says something and you wish that she would just give the pageant queen answer and have everything be fine. And Ashley is interesting. She's someone who's interesting to write about, to cover, to talk about. We talk about her all the time.
we're missing those. We're missing the Nicole Bobecks, the Tonya
Every single
Hardings,
one of those
the
Tanya
Christopher
documentaries had
Bowmans.
those
Yeah,
personalities. And
yeah,
Ashley's like the Diet Coke of that. And people should
right.
be hoping that she and Gracie can bring a little
Fire.
fire out of one another, because Gracie
Because
has it too. We just haven't
We
seen it
like
as
debate. We
much.
like rivals. We like
Right.
personalities. That's why NBC gives us fluff.
Yeah.
So they give us a personality to root for. You know what I mean? And I think, as far as this whole like, this is so bad for the sport, we're going to lose fans. I mean, come on. What about Linda Frediani and Annette Putsch? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This happens every Olympics and it happens all the time. And part of that discussion is why we love the sport. It's objective, our sport. And when people justify things like Adelina's win,
Hmm.
it all becomes about the jumps because everyone can understand jumps, but you can't understand choreography.
Hmm.
We know that Carolina should have had all tens and Adelina should have had nowhere near that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's that you can't explain that to someone necessarily. So I don't know. I think we need more personalities,
Yeah.
likable or fun personalities.
That's the
Not
one thing, as
yeah.
I said this earlier in the season, and people jumped on me, and part of it was the tone that I gave. But um, Meryl and Charlie's interviews after winning, I believe that win will have a shelf life of 15 minutes. Because unfortunately, while they're a little bit more relaxed, they say nothing interesting in any of their interviews. So after a 2 or 3 minute congratulations by Kathy Lee and Hoda, they don't even really have an interesting conversation. It's just the moms, it's them, they have a great relationship, everything is hunky-dory,
Right.
they're enjoying them, and that's all they give us. It's like, ooh, what can we ask them?
You could
Well,
run with
Meryl,
this. Take this
Meryl, how did
moment.
you
Yeah.
feel about when Charlie started dating your domestic rival while you were still competing against each other? Ooh,
Well,
why don't
yeah.
we get into some like actual questions and see what they would do if they would
Right.
just open up and be like, well, we
One
have gone things together, because they're not relatable because they're still pretending to be perfect and you like them, but you don't connect to them,
Right.
unfortunately.
And it's interesting also with Bob Costas when he would do those, in studio interviews with people. The skating ones were always boring
Yeah.
because everything, it's exactly what you say. Everything was fine. Everything's this, everything's that. And then all of a sudden they'd get some snowboarder girl or they'd get some skeleton guy and they're hilarious and you enjoy watching it. No late night show needs to book Meryl and Charlie because
No.
they're going to have a great rapport, you know. And that's okay. They were great skaters. But I mean, that's what's kind of missing are the likable people. And I don't know if that changed with Michelle, because we all fell in love with Michelle, even though she didn't necessarily have that star personality
She had
off
more
ice.
charisma than they have. She at
Okay.
least had a sense of humor and a charisma and a rapport, and she opened up on the ice, obviously more than
Yeah.
off, but she did
Right.
have a way of speaking and communicating that was less closed off wall
Yeah.
than certainly they do. But I was talking to a skater who said that, an ice dancer saying that in order to do the movements now, you have to disengage from the music and from the emotions so much to
In
do
order to
those
count your
spins,
twizzle,
that it's
revolutions
just
and
you
all
don't
this sort of
learn to
stuff.
be that open with your
Right.
emotions. That's why the galas are so weak, because you don't do that. And the one thing that I felt at the end of the Olympics, when all is said and done, is I thought this scoring system is really not needed. If you
Well,
want to
that's the
put
thing.
Adelina first, you could put her first under the 6-0 system. You could put her, and it could be way more relatable to people. And then you could maybe get rid of some of the requirements for these lengths of spins and changes of position, and maybe bring some of it back. I just thought, God, it's really unnecessary. I understand the system. You can, understand why they use it, and at the same point, it is completely not needed.
Well, the thing is, PCS is even more muddled than artistic interpretation was. I,
Yes.
I mean, because now you are asking people to justify it,
And they
with
all
all of these
overlap, and they're written
things.
in terrible English, and they're yeah.
It doesn't provide any more clarity. It doesn't provide any more answers, and I just, yeah, it's the same thing. You can still slip what you need to in, except now it's even more muddled because now it's just seems more unjust because we have a list of things that technically are supposed to be informing that score and it doesn't.
Yeah, I think if you look back, when people talk about Torval and Dean and their Bolero, I don't think they're saying, oh, that was a level 4, something that they did. The average person is going to remember what they saw and how it made them feel on the
Right.
inside. And
Right.
I don't think if you watch Davis and White's Scheherazade, that you're going to be like, oh, they had all of those level 4 lifts. You're going to be like, no, when he
Right.
whipped her under his legs and on his back,
Yes,
and
yeah,
that's what you're going to
exactly.
remember. And I don't think that you need the requirements at this point to dictate that, because I think that people would try to one up one another. But
Mm.
I do think that, yeah, it's not
And
needed.
a lot of stuff was finagled through pluses and minuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Paulina, who did, I thought, a beautiful triple Lutz, triple toe, was one of the best combos, I thought, in the competition. I'm so fascinated by her jump technique. It's so cool looking. But she was getting plus ones, and Adelina was getting plus threes. And I was like, do you need a plus 1 through 3?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just you got a plus or a minus for it? You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's
Like,
how
because
they bury the bodies. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think so. Because I thought okay, here's base mark. Did you do your triple Lutz, triple toe? Was it cool? Did you really nail it? Oh, here's a plus. Was it a little iffy? Oh, here's a minus. But what makes a plus 2, plus 3? I know they have their list of like
It's
criteria or
gut
whatever. I mean,
reaction.
I think it's so gut. You either did it well or you didn't. I don't. I wonder if maybe those numbers could go away or something. I mean, it's clear no one's going to chuck IJS.
No, it's
They're,
not
they're
going to
too
happen.
invested. Mm-mm. But maybe there are still ways to improve it, I guess. I love Dick Button. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that he, in every interview, says he's wearing his sassy pants and just throws Ottavio under the bus and the scoring system is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But when everyone says this, they don't offer any solutions. Just,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, no one's going to just get rid of it. We have to
I
see
mean,
how we can improve it,
no,
I don't.
certainly not under this regime, and I don't think it would get much better if Didier got elected. But
I know.
I think you look at the alternatives. But yeah, were there any other
Hmm.
performances of the Olympics that stood out to you? How about your?
Okay. First of all, Kanako.
All right.
She comes out and is skating to Papa Can You Hear Me? Which, it's cheesy, but it's good. And Yentl, that beautiful story, Barbara Streisand portraying the strong Jewish woman coming to terms. She wore a giant, sparkly cross, and I was like, wrong religion. Hello. I was like, this could have just taken a Google search, just Yentl, IMDb. You weren't going to see any sparkly crosses. So that was really, the whole time I was just like, what? It was sad what happened to those Japanese girls.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought they could have been more of a factor, and maybe they peaked a couple years, like a Kiko and things like that. Maybe they peaked too soon, not only in the 4 years between the Olympics, but even this season, because they're Japanese nationals. Mao had a rough skate, but Akiko was great. Kanako I mean, I don't care for her skating personally, but at Four Continents, I mean, she peaked. She had her Olympic moment there.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very hopeful about Paulina. I thought she really kept it together. These great jumps. She and Gracie both fell on the same thing that they fell on
They
at
did.
nationals. But I think the future is there, and again because of the mindset. And I'm intrigued to see what happens with her.
I know someone was talking to one Olympic coach, and they were just saying that nowadays the skaters of today either have a flip or they have a Lutz. And the other one is 9 times out of 10 going to be at risk for an edge call. No one in this day and
Okay.
age has a true Lutz and a true flip. Since the elimination of figures, it's just not happening. And
Okay.
by the time someone gets to Gracie's level, to try to tinker with that flip, if they has tried to do,
It's too much backtracking.
and then it's up here, and it took Yuna, when she first started to try to fix her flip, she started popping it, which we had never seen her do before, back in
Right.
before the 2010 Olympics. And you just look at so many people now, and you're like, is that like, are they working on the edge call? Because that wasn't the issue before. I know with Gracie's they've tried to address it, and at a certain time you just have to be like, they're either
Well,
going
here
to
we
call
go.
it or they didn't. I mean,
Right.
Yulia and Adelina didn't get calls in their flip.
Well, now
and
they
their
just do that rocker
flutzes.
thing to kind of hide it, right? Yeah, I
So did
mean,
Nicole Bobeck, and so did a million other people. And look, they're going to call it if they want to call it or they don't want to call it. And you just need
right.
to,
Well, and that was, I mean, Johnny and Tara.
Mhm.
I had moments where I liked them very much, moments I didn't care for them, and now they're going to be on Hollywood Access Hollywood. What are they going to be on?
Yes.
Reviewing fashions.
Hmm.
So anyway, he was making an interesting call when Lizzie June was skating,
Hmm.
and he said, the caller is calling her on every under rotation, all these edges, and he's like, and to be honest, they're just as questionable as Kanako or someone else who had skated just before, and he was like, there's not consistency here on this calling, and it's creating a problem, because call it or don't.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Get everybody or don't get anybody.
Yeah, when people ask like, "What are you upset about the ladies' event?" Everything. I thought
Yeah.
like it was. I mean, I just think you
Yeah.
have to. It's one of those events like you just do over,
Yeah.
especially with the judging. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And
And
I would like to, I think, as we were saying, team event, yay or nay. And for a lot of people, maybe Gracie, even it helped, get out some jitters and things like that. Man, did that mess with Yulia.
mhm.
I think, she had her Olympic winning performances too soon.
Did you hear
And
that
she has,
they said that her house was bugged or her
yeah, or
locker?
they were going nuts at the rink and all this sort of stuff, and all it did was create more pressure for her,
Mhm.
and it had to mess with her. And the thing is, when we were concerned Yulia was going to run away with the whole thing,
Mhm.
it was disappointing because she's just young. She's unrefined, but I do think she's talented. I think she just hasn't gotten it all in order yet.
I
And
think she has it more in order than Adelina.
that's the thing. It was like now suddenly we're wishing Yulia had been the Russian on top instead of Adelina, I think, because again, the program, it's not Carolina's program, it's not Mao's program, but it was of a much higher quality than Adelina's program. So the fact that I wished for Yulia on the top, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. What happens at Worlds, I
Yes.
think.
Are you ready for Worlds? Are you ready for a nice break before Worlds? How are you
I
feeling about it?
Again, as we talk about the team event and individual event, it's a little burnout by
Yes.
the time we get to the women's event. And then because of all the judging controversy, it's like even drawn out even more. And it is a little like, whoa. I mean, I love skating, but I was like, this has been an intense, run here. This is, crazy.
But
I
I
don't
think
know.
by the time Worlds comes around, it will be a fascinating event to see what happens and what the future will hold. Who's going to pull out? Who is going to be there? And how will the judging go at the World Championships? And I am sure that we will have much to discuss. So until next time, we want to remind you to hold an edge, rock that inside edge back to the out, and look sexy. Bye
And don't wear a cross if you're skating to something Jewish. Okay.
now.